Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/FBIA podcast. Over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/FBIA podcast. Again, that's audibletrial.com/FBIA podcast. And thank you for your support of the show. We appreciate all of you.
Well, I'm just out of school, like I'm real cool. Gotta dance like a fool, get the message that I gotta be a wild one. Ooh yeah, I'm a wild one. Gotta break it loose, gotta keep it moving wild. Gotta keep it swinging, baby, I'm a real wild child.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Football is America with Ron and Kyle. I'm Ron.
I'm Kyle. Hey, thanks for doing your homework.
What?
I don't know.
Real quick in this episode, we're going to give you some game previews, and then we're going to give you some emails, and then we're going to, and I don't do this lightly, but I'm going to turn the reins over in our next episode, which is a strictly news episode, to Kyle.
Which
I've not.
That's a good decision to make for an adult who knows me. Not that I can't be in charge of things. I'm in charge of things quite often as a parent. And hopefully soon to be a homeowner, putting a bid in on a house. Exciting. But
oh, congratulations.
I think, well, we'll see how it goes. We'll see if they accept it. They brought the price down on the house and then they got more bids. So I'm just offering what they initially asked for, which is still like 10 grand less than I expected to spend on the place. So yeah, listeners, a great way to support me and my new house would be to use our Amazon.com search bar on our website to get to Amazon.com, get all of your crazy, amazing items. Amazon has everything, and that is a very easy way to help us out. Get the stuff you want, you need, all for yourself. Helps us a little bit. Appreciate it. If you have time, if not, well, we love you anyway. But yeah, I make decisions, but just like the decisions on letting me talk at length about whatever I want, it gets really kind of out there really quick. If I'm in a business meeting, I can lead a business meeting. This is not a business meeting.
Not even close. We are not even remotely as structured as that.
No, we are not talking about networks or installation or fabrication or logistics, which are things that I'm used to dealing with in a serious manner. And this is mostly none of those.
All right, well, let's get right to some game previews, Kyle.
I would like that. There are not many to.
No, there's only two. And we'll start actually with your Indianapolis Colts, who go to the New England Patriots for the AFC Championship game. Did you think you were going to see your Colts here?
I'm going to be honest and say not really. There was a brief period of time when I think every Colts fan and a great many analysts had a bit of hope. The Colts did obviously an excellent job this year, but there were some stretches where they weren't bringing it. Interestingly enough, they are 0-4 against teams that ended up winning their division and 11-1 against all other teams. So that's kind of out there. But for the most part, no, the Colts had too much of an up and down year to really say, yeah, they're ready for a conference championship. That's bizarre. Well, for that matter, Ron, I know you remember a time in which we didn't think the Patriots would even be in the playoffs.
And it wasn't just me or you. It was everybody after the way that the Patriots started. I mean, and I don't want to get into a big year in review, but let's be honest. I think everybody was really worried the first few weeks that the Patriots were in a very tight spot and were going to continue to be there. So
there was some concern coming into the season for New England. There was a lot of concern after a really, I think it was one of the 3 worst losses of Bill Belichick's career when they lost to Kansas City. Definitely a top 3. So not a lot of confidence there, but that was also a catalyst, and they've been pretty dominant since.
A couple of things I want to get through. I want to try and structure these a little bit better, and I don't know why we've waited until all the way down at the very end to do this, but I wanted to structure these a little bit. Let's do some keys for each team to win. Let's start with the Patriots, actually.
Well, let me have you do the Patriots because I believe that you are a bit more familiar with them because I have a hard time being objective with New England, let's say.
Okay.
So, Ron, what is the key for New England to win this game?
Well, the big key here is for them to not stop what they've been doing this whole time, which was let Tom Brady just go crazy to Rob Gronkowski. The Colts have a tough time with the tight end, and anybody has a tough time with Rob Gronkowski, let's be honest.
Sure.
So let's say that is the road they are going to take, even if you are smart as the Colts defense will probably be and try to triple cover him, you're going to leave a lot open for Julian Edelman and Brendan LaFell. It's the passing game over the middle and vertically on the edge is going to be the biggest portion of what is successful for them. They do a very good job with Greg Toller and Vontae Davis of taking away that outside in between the safety and corner thing, despite the fact that LaRon Landry is barely a safety at all. I just don't understand what he's doing out there, but I don't know why they haven't put Mike Adams back out there, but that is going to be the tougher parts of the field for them. The best thing for them to do is run the football right up the middle, wait for the gaps to open up when they can. If they can't get that run game going, it's going to be easy for them to go over the middle. They're probably going to try to come out and use a little bit of that crazy formation they were using against the Ravens, and if the Colts have been doing their homework, they can stop that. They have the personnel to do that. They play the right kind of defense. So let's see if they can basically repeat the same game plan for the most part that they used against the Ravens, because to me, that game plan will work against the Colts as well.
Very excellent. All right, now, for New England, what is their biggest obstacle? What should they be very concerned with heading into this game?
Making sure that they protect Tom Brady whenever he gets a little riled and sometimes he actually gets a little overconfident, to be honest, and that's what ends up in getting picks thrown. And he's had quite a few of them this year, and it's not like they're a ton of glaringly terrible picks, but the ones that he does throw tends to be momentum stoppers.
When he throws a pick, I will give you, he throws them very ill-timed.
Yes, and the other teams always capitalize on them for the most part. So now the other big obstacle for them is the penalties. For a Bill Belichick team, the operational penalties, or I don't know exactly how they put it on TV, but I call them operational penalties, which is illegal formations, 12 men on the field, all of those kind of penalties, they've got to stop. Those kill the Patriots. They have all year. So that is going to be another big obstacle for them.
Okay, and what is going to be the deciding factor for them in this game? What is really get down, nitty-gritty? What wins or loses this game for New England?
It's going to be their defense. If their defense with Jamie Collins and Patrick Chung, Kyle Arrington are able to lock down that deep threat, keep T.Y. Hilton out, and keep Dante Moncrief out. If they can limit Luck's passing game to Reggie Wayne and Kobe Fleener, they're going to be able to win this football game easily. So to me, the deciding factor is the Patriots' defense in this one.
Who is going to be the MVP of the game?
Honestly, and this is going to sound weird, I'm going to take Andrew Luck. But I'm not picking the Colts to win.
That's probably a lot more objective analysis of the Patriots than I think I could ever have brought, because I would say deciding factor is number of child souls sacrificed. So I'm probably not the man for that analysis, unfortunately.
What do you think about the Colts then?
Well, what about the Colts? I like them. They're pretty good.
All right. What do you think is going to be the keys for them to win against the Patriots?
I'd say if I had to pick the keys to winning, second half adjustments. It's not uncommon for the Colts to have a lackluster first half and then do incredible job adjusting to what they've seen and coming out in the second and having a completely different game for the better. If they're able to learn what Belichick is throwing at them early and adapt to it, that can really get them into a position where they can actually win this game.
Okay, and what is the obstacles that they face here against the Patriots?
Well, on defense, easily the biggest obstacle is Rob Gronkowski. He is, before anybody wants to say Tom Brady should be league MVP or even that team MVP, I'd say give it to Gronkowski. He extends drives. He converts third downs like a son of a gun. He is not just an excellent player, but he builds confidence for that whole team. He can block, he can catch, he can get a ridiculous amount of yards after the catch. It's almost impossible to tackle him. If the Colts defense wants to be successful, they really need to make sure that he is a non-factor to as great of an extent as they can. On offense, they really need to worry about Darrelle Revis and what kind of coverage Bill Belichick is going to be putting out on them. He had great success double covering T.Y. Hilton in the earlier matchup in the year. And if you take away T.Y. Hilton, you are forcing Andrew Luck to throw, as you said, to Moncrief, to Reggie Wayne, to Hakeem Nicks, Kobe Fleener, and to Dwayne Allen. And while there is some definite talent there, just by taking away T.Y. Hilton, you hobble that offense. It is just really taking them out at the knee. I don't think the Colts have to worry about special teams. They are probably one of the strongest special teams units in the whole league. Pat McAfee and Adam Vinatieri are ridiculous. They're probably top two at their position, which is why they are both in the Pro Bowl this year. And there's definitely some challenges in the way of the Colts. And let's not forget about crowd noise. New England is incredibly good at home, and the Colts teams do not play well there.
All right, so the deciding factor for you is going to be what?
Andrew Luck. And that's a cheap, easy, lazy answer. But the thing is, when that kid is on fire, it's almost as though there is nothing that can be done to stop him. Tom Brady has a very good offense. It's a very capable offense. But the last couple times the Patriots have played the Colts, they've decided to run the ball and run it incredibly well. They're not as healthy at running back as they were earlier in the year. The Colts are much healthier on defense, notably getting defensive end Arthur Jones, who was brought in to stop the run and has generally done a very good job of it. So New England can't quite just expect to win in the same fashion as before. And I think the Colts are going to get some stops on defense. It is going to be all about Andrew Luck commanding that offense for the Colts, moving the ball downfield, putting up touchdowns instead of field goals. If they can do that, they have a chance of winning. It's a small chance, but you can't count them out the same way that everybody wanted to against the Broncos. This is a much harder game, much less likely win, but they have a chance.
Okay, so who's your pick for MVP in this one, Kyle?
I am going to say Darrelle Revis. I think he is going to be given an assignment and put out there with the mission of stopping Andrew Luck from achieving. And I think he is going to have a pretty good time doing it because most of the receivers for the Colts are fairly young. You've got T.Y. Hilton, who's a year 3 guy. Dwayne Allen, Kobe Fleener, year 3 guys. Moncrief, he's a rookie. And then you've got Reggie Wayne, who, while a veteran and knowledgeable, is old and is only getting about 8% of the targets at this point. And Hakeem Nicks, while certainly getting better as the year goes on, is still not a reliable target. I think that Darrelle Revis going out there and having an excellent game can pretty much single-handedly put this one away for the Patriots, and I think we'll all be recognizing that later. And I don't want to do it. Well, actually, I'm going to throw this other thing out here. A different deciding factor is going to be motivation. We've talked briefly on this show about motivation. You get a fire in your belly, you're going to do great things, like conquer China or eat a sandwich. That's an amazing thing to do. Amazing is all kinds of ways. He's a sandwich. It's a big sandwich, little sandwich. But Tom Brady, being a clever guy, had a photo of him riding a Colt on Facebook. Not just any Colt, the old-timey symbol from when they were in Baltimore. Replaced the, put Tom Brady on there. That's on his Facebook. And he posted this on Monday or late Sunday, wasting no time in giving the team he is playing all the motivation in the world to want to just go out there and hurt him so bad. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody gets charged with something in a court of law based on what a defender does to him, because if I was on the Colts defense, I'm pretty sure that I'd be willing to. You're an NFL player. You're big. You're going to clean up in the shower in prison. You're fine. So giving your team motivation.
I just realized what you said.
So
what is wrong with you?
I have a few mental images. Now, I'm going to do, if I can, Ron, a real brief shout out to a company that is not sponsoring us, but I really like what they're doing. I'm sure with my rampant Colts homerism being all over this thing like honey inside of a bear's face. Because they like Winnie the Pooh is accurate, right? That's based on a true story.
Oh man, okay.
All right.
You're taking this down. Be careful. Tread lightly.
Winnie the Pooh's good. I'm not negative. We're not getting sued by Disney. We're not. Okay. Anyway, in response to that Indianapolis-based shop, Vardagen has created a wonderful T-shirt that I think any Colts fan wants to take a look at. VARDAGEN. I'm not going to give you any more than that. If you're a Colts fan and you hate the Patriots, and if you're a Colts fan, you do hate the Patriots, take a look. I have bought 2 for myself. I am eagerly awaiting them in the mail. I am sorry to all of our other sponsors that you can't create amazing things that I want to reference on the show free of charge. But hey, you can reach for the stars. Unfortunately, I think you and I are in agreement on this one, Ron. The Colts are a good team. They've had a great run. This is if Andrew Luck loses this game, that will bring his playoff record to 3-3, and that is not bad.
Oh well, yeah, that's.
You are pretty clearly doing something else, because I can tell when I say something wacky and you don't respond or get irritated immediately, that means you're typing and you're like the grumpy dad. We're at the table and Dad, my boyfriend has a tattoo on his neck, and you're just like, that's nice, sonny. Wait, what?
I'm sorry, you have my undivided attention.
That's right, I have your undivided attention. You don't even know how to do division. You're the worst accountant in the history of time.
I'm not the worst accountant ever. There are a lot of really bad accountants.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. I would be too dumb to even know how to get caught. So let's be clear there.
Yeah, and I will say this. For those who don't know, Ron being an Iowa man, he did a lot of farm-based accounting. And if you can imagine something that could not be more complicated, like determining yield and how much you actually owe the government based on estimations and rain, and you can't charge us money, government, because we had too much snow this year. And the government goes, okay, wait, what? We have to analyze this? And then I'm pretty sure that's why some people don't have eyebrows, because they burn them off from having to do that. If you meet somebody without eyebrows, they're probably an accountant. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I understand. You get to a point in your life where you're surrounded by numbers and dumbass reasons. You're going to go ahead and do something to self-mutilate. You're either cutting or you're burning off your eyebrows. I'm going to say go with the eyebrows. Make a statement. Wear it on your face.
Oh man,
And remember, you already agreed. You're gonna. Well, not agreed. You insisted I'm going to be leading the News Time show. So clearly it is going to be exactly what you want. You're not regretting the decision yet, but you already know that you will.
Yeah.
Like you're in line to get on the plane to go skydiving, and you know that you saw the guy who you're buddied up with take a couple hits of acid beforehand, and you're like, right now it isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad yet. But I know when we get up there and he starts freaking out about monsters and dragons and how, a space alien had sex with his dad, and you're like mid-jump and you're just screaming at him, pull the cord, you know that moment will be awful, but you're still climbing on the plane.
Do you want to do the Packers at the Seahawks at all?
Take it or leave it. But yeah, let's talk Packers at Seahawks because we are contractually obligated to, not really. This one will probably be a better game. Has that very exciting week 1 throwback. Aaron Rodgers saying he's not afraid to throw at Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman probably said something, but for some reason the media is not paying attention to him anymore. I guess he hasn't said anything aggressive enough. That's kind of insulting, isn't it? Like, hey, Richard Sherman, we know that you're Stanford educated and very intelligent, but we only want to hear from you when you're being a clown. Like, that's not very nice. He's very insightful. He has nice things to say.
When you set a standard for yourself, don't be mad when people always want that standard.
It's true. And that's why, kids, the lesson is never try.
Oh, this is not the lesson here at all.
Well,
I don't
you
know.
just basically said as soon as you get a B plus, now you need to get a B plus. If you stay right at C minus, the first time you get a C, it's like, oh my God. Then you say, well, I was just feeling really good that day, and I'm pretty sure that a couple answers the teacher let go. So that way your parents are like, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but you still get a special happy birthday cake that year because you got that C instead of a C minus. And we know you're just going to end up retreading tires. So like there's, the negative that goes with it, but then you only have to do a C minus job of retreading those tires.
You can't see me shaking my head right now.
I can feel it. As though there was a connection through the force or whatever.
All right, let's talk about the Packers now.
You love the Packers. You hate them and love them.
I hate the Packers. I am a big fan of Aaron Rodgers.
All right, so what are the keys for the Packers to win this rousing contest against the rabble-rousing Seahawks?
Rabble-rousing Seahawks. Okay, the Packers have an injured Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
They have a defense that gives up a lot of yards between the 20-yard lines, but then tightens down in the red zone. And they have a very good run game as of recently. But they're really going to have to rely on that, I think, to win this game. And that's difficult because you're going up against a very good run defense. I was talking to a Packers fan today, and they asked me what I thought was going to be, the outcome of the game. So what we have here is keys for each team winning, the biggest obstacles for each team, and the deciding factors. All right, I'm just going to kind of wrap all this up into one big statement. So get ready here.
That's efficient.
The Packers, they have, with Aaron Rodgers' injury, a very unique situation because Aaron Rodgers, even with his injury, plays at a very high level. His inability to slide around the pocket, though, is going to probably be what costs them this game because his evasiveness and his extrasensory perception, as we call it, of knowing that where the defender is coming from is almost so undefendable that it is the reason they win football games. Now, on the road, in stadiums that are very loud, with the offense that they run, which is a timing-based vertical offense, it is going to be very difficult for them to win. Aaron Rodgers struggles to get the offense together and to get things done on time when running the offense because he can't hear and because his receivers can't hear him. So, with that said, last week they did a few fun things with Randall Cobb in the backfield. They still have Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb being the smaller of the three receivers that they use. They also have Richard Rodgers, who's really come into his own as a receiving tight end option. They also have Eddie Lacy. To me, if I was the one coaching this team, with all of the obstacles of injury and the defense that you're going up against and game plan having to change because of those things, I would put the offense together like this. And I know that I kind of use this whole two-back set thing a little too much, but this is where it works. When you have a quarterback who is normally mobile but can't get around right now due to injury, but is still very accurate like he is and still runs a good timing offense, then you want to put everybody as close together as possible because that eliminates time between the time you snap the ball and the time you can get it out to a receiver. You are going to have to chip shot down until they get so far crept up that you can go over top. So what you're going to do is you can put Eddie Lacy in the backfield with Randall Cobb. You run a pistol and or a gun with two backs out there. You also put Jordy Nelson on the inside, and you put Dante Moncrief on the outside, and you split out or you bring into the line and run just two wide receivers to the left or the right with Richard Rodgers. So you can run Richard Rodgers split out wide on a 3-receiver type set, or bring him in and run a 2-receiver set with 2 in the backfield. Now, I'm not saying do this every single play, but this is what's going to be successful. You have a flat option routes you can run with Cobb. He can go out of the backfield and hitch route. He can come out of the backfield and streak down the seam. He can come out of the backfield, hit the flat. He can also do a flag route from the backfield as well. With Eddie Lacy, that gives you a run option. If you see something that you didn't like, you bring Richard Rodgers in to block because he can do that pretty well, and you run off Richard Rodgers and that left tackle with, or right tackle, whichever side you have him on, with Eddie Lacy. That gives you a lot of play there. You have a lot of looking at the defense and reading the defense, which Aaron Rodgers does very well, and you can change up with that formation. So you have so many options with that formation that it's going to be a lot for that defense to handle. And it's going to be something that they haven't seen before. Now, that also, with Jordy Nelson on the inside, gives you a lot of options with Jordy Nelson, either as a check down seam, hook route kind of guy, or as a check down drag route, or he can hit the flag from there, which is his famous move, which is the fade to the outside flag right in between the corner and the safety, which he does his most of his damage. Devontae Adams, now, he is your hook and go, or your streak down the sideline and get past the corner on a single high safety, and the safety can't get over there to help him out. So he's kind of your speedier guy for his size on the outside. That's why you put him on the outside. You have him draw the coverage away from Jordy Nelson, and you have Jordy Nelson go to the outside. Now you have wide open guys either in the middle or it's Jordy Nelson, because somebody's going to have to cover somebody somewhere. And you keep everything to Aaron Rodgers' strong side. That's his right side. That way you eliminate and you have clear out options. That's the way I would run the offense, because that's going to be the fastest and most efficient way for somebody who can't move around in the pocket.
All right, yeah.
Your reaction, you have nothing for me. It's so ridiculous.
I'm sorry, you just kind of like, what am I? Well, I think philosophically what you're saying with the 2-back set, cross Western, East, Northern, no, you kind of like put it out there, and here you give me this like 18-course meal, and I'm like, I just needed change to use the payphone.
So ultimately, my pick is not going to be the Packers. I am going to pick the Seahawks. It's in Seattle. They play in a really tough stadium. I just don't think that they can win. I would hope that they do, because I don't want to see Seattle in another Super Bowl, just like I don't want to see the Patriots in another Super Bowl. But let's use reality here and say that's probably what's going to happen. My MVP of the game, I think, is honestly going to be Russell Wilson.
I will agree with you there. I think Russell Wilson is. I think he has to have a great game. He can be kind of hot, cold. Sometimes he's out there and he's amazing. Sometimes he's out there and you kind of go, what are you doing? This is why you were drafted in third. You're very confusing with what you're doing. We know you can be better, but I think his motivation to go back to back and cement his legacy just after only his third year will be too great for him to have any chance of failing.
So what do you think the keys for them winning and the biggest obstacles and stuff are going to be for them?
Well, I think the keys for the Seahawks to win is a lot like what you had essentially said about the Patriots, and just kind of don't be too fancy out there. Don't overcomplicate your game plan by adding in too many new things and just getting your guys out of sorts. Keep the system that has been working and work it well. If your guys are doing what you've been telling them to do, your coaching system is going to match up well enough that I think the Seahawks can pull this out pretty handily. They've, as you said, got a huge advantage in terms of home field crowd noise and disrupting a timing-based precision offense. I think that'll be massive for them. I do think, though, that the biggest obstacle is going to be the Packer defense, believe it or not. I think that with Seattle, too often they have to rely on their defense to kind of keep them alive. And, we even saw this in the Super Bowl. The Bronco offense wasn't doing too much, but then again, neither was the Seahawks, and the defense just kept them in the game, maybe only for about the first quarter until the Seahawk offense got hot. But you've got to make sure that the Packers can't hold you with their offense. You've got to be able to score touchdowns and not field goals. If Seattle can do that, that'll really help them out. But the Packer defense, they're in the conference championship. I think we get too much talk when one side of the ball is dominant for a team that the other side is weak. We hear too often, well, the Seahawks defense is amazing. Their offense isn't very good. The Packer offense is amazing. Their defense isn't very good. Packers defense is not bad, and I think they can really cause some fits for Russell Wilson. As I said, I think he will be the MVP, but I think the deciding factor, it's too obvious. Aaron Rodgers' health. If he is healthy more than we think, he can really, really change so much of this game. Right now, I get the impression, though, that he is really in a lot of pain that it is really limiting his mobility and once you play with that lack of confidence, you make poor decisions. As we saw with Peyton Manning, a muscular tear in your legs is going to affect how you set, how you throw, how precise you are, how good your ball travels. And if that is going to be the case with Aaron Rodgers, just pencil in this point, the Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl, at which point I'll be rooting for the not Patriots. Why would I not?
Okay, so who are you picking for the win then, Kyle?
Let's just be diametrically opposite. Is that even a right word? I don't care.
Is that even a word?
I don't know. I say things sometimes and then my brain goes, wait, that one got past the filter, and quality control's just like, it's out there. Screw it, why not? Let's just be different. I'm going to pick the Packers purely to spite you. Well, actually, I guess I can't pick the Packers. I really don't have any faith in Aaron Rodgers' health, and I think Russell Wilson has to come away with a good game. I think he has to be the MVP. He's presented with a dare to be great situation, I think is what I'm saying. I think he will be great. It's not every time you take the field with Russell Wilson under center that you're thinking he's going to go out there and just change how we think a quarterback. But it does happen. And I think this is a game where he's going to need to be the best player on the field, and he's going to rise to the occasion.
So, now that we've gotten through those previews, we want to give you finally what you've been waiting for, which is the emails and comments. I know that some of you have actually emailed me saying, hey, when are you going to read my email or comment? We want to go ahead and do those for you now. We don't have a ton of them because I filtered out a few of the ones that were just, great job, guys, high fives, emoticons, whatever it is that you posted. Thank you all for those.
That's not an email, that's a text message.
We appreciate all of the support and everything that you gave us, and a few of the questions that didn't really pertain to anything I left out. If you want to come back with some substance, that would be great. But let's go ahead and get started.
I like getting started.
All right, so number one, we have RJ from Santa Cruz, which is
California.
I don't know if that's close to where you live or not, because California is a state I don't care about.
I mean, I live in Alaska, so no. But if you mean where I grew up, Santa Cruz is one of them beachy kind of party place. If memory serves, that's closer to San Francisco than San Diego. But if you're in that LA area, you picked whoever, and good for him for being able to stay in the state, not being a jackass like me and going to a Midwestern corn and soybean and nothing else kind of place.
He writes, you guys always hate on the Chargers' Phillip Rivers. Why? He's had one incompetent offensive coordinator after another and continues to get no help from the front office. I understand he can rub people the wrong way, but there is no denying his ability.
Ron, would you like to take this with the logical part of your answer first before I devolve into idiocy?
Sure. Yes. Phillip Rivers does have a lot of talent. He has a lot of ability. But the reason I don't like Phillip Rivers is he talks a lot of big game. And the moment that he does that, he comes out and puts out something like what he did this season, which is a complete and utter just stinker after the first 6 games. You can't come out there and say, I'm the biggest kid on the block, and then get beat up 4 days later. It doesn't work that way.
That's pretty accurate. I'll even elaborate a little bit. You can tell me that Phillip Rivers has had incompetent offensive coordinators or shift the blame elsewhere. And it kind of sounds like that's what you're doing, but it's the same reason we see people hating on Jay Cutler. You have talent. There is talent around you. And don't tell me there's none. There's some there. He doesn't have as much. He doesn't have a Brandon Marshall or an Alshon Jeffrey. He's got enough talent. He should be doing something. And we see him win, so we know he can. But then he gets whiny, he gets pampered, things stop going his way, and he throws a fit, and the leadership goes away, and then the team suffers for it. He has not really been a big deal since LaDainian Tomlinson left. And the same thing can be said with the Chargers. And the same thing can also be said with the Jets. Last time those teams were good, LaDainian Tomlinson, great running back, difference maker. As soon as he's gone, your program's gone. Phillip Rivers has talent. Nobody debates that. We like his talent, but he's a douche. It's so easy to look at him and just be like, I hope somebody hits him with a pie in the face so hard it gives him a concussion. Like, it's not going to solve any of my problems. It's not going to make the bills go away, but you at least pay them with a little sense of satisfaction that God's working his magic in this world. So Philip Rivers is out there being essentially a talented one. It also doesn't help that when I look at him, I for some reason in my mind think he looks a little bit too much like John Rocker, and I don't really have a lot of basis for that, but that triggers like the memory center of my brain, and I go, oh, he's racist. And that's not cool. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying in my head, I think he is. And I'm like, why do you think that? The back of my head, like, he looks like that guy. Like, so because they look the same, they are the same? Like, that's not how that works. So, like, everybody who looks like Matthew McConaughey is stoned. It's like, well, yeah, actually, he looks that way because he's stoned. Like, well, all right, we got some, exception that proves a rule.
So, let's go on to the next one, and that is from Walt at Fort Lewis, Washington. So, thank you for serving, Walt. Can you guys chime in on Mike Pereira's comments about the Sue fine and non-suspension? And this was a while ago, and I'm sorry that we hadn't gotten your comment. But basically, what he's asking is when Mike Pereira got on national TV and said that Ndamukong Suh shouldn't have been fined and shouldn't have been suspended at all. And my response to that is, most people don't realize is that he had a show that was going to be airing the next day, and he was saying, hey, if you don't agree with me, come and join my chat show, live show, caller-based show that was going to be on the next day. Yes, it was. It was shock media to get you to come and basically disagree with him so he could do whatever he was going to do to berate you like Keil does.
Only he's not as good at it because I can berate the people who love and respect me like nobody's business. I don't even need gin. It just helps. My personal feeling on his comments, I think Ron kind of took all the wind out of my sails by giving the reason why he was. It's hard to really jump on people when they're being sensational for the sake of being sensational. That's how I live every moment of my life. So I can't give him too much grief for that. I will say that from a logical and rational perspective, like, nobody believes in Ndamukong Suh when he's like, oh, my feet are cold and I was numb and that's why I step and for me, it's the whole, he rocked back, putting all of the weight on the heel with the spikes into the calf. Like, come on, man, that's a dick move. And I personally am of the opinion, like, get him out of the league. Send a message. Now, the NFLPA will never have it, and then everybody will start bitching and moaning. So I think we really need to start setting up, like, a spanking system. Because it's like, well, you've ever heard that whole, if you want to act like adults, I'll treat you like adults. You want to act like kids, I'll treat you like kids. If you want to be a bad little boy, I want the referees to get out a paddle and smack him on the behind us and then put him into the corner.
What?
You know what? Because taking the money doesn't affect him. Taking the games doesn't affect him. So we need something else, So I say spanking. It's spanking season, and I got some hankering for some spankering.
Wow. All right. Well, let's go on then. We had a Stitcher comment. And remember, guys, when you comment on Stitcher and iTunes and all those kind of places, it takes us a long time to get those comments because I don't get notifications. And sometimes I try to check all of the hosting services, but we have about 32 different people for different services that host us. So to get around to all of them takes a lot of time, and I'm sorry if we don't get to your comment right away. So
you
the
can
comments,
maybe email us and say I've got a comment. I mean, if you're on a specific website for posting credits or however you do, we're cool with that. But maybe just drop us a line like, hey, check out my comment on this page. We'll gladly check it out. We're not going to tell you have to do one way or another, but we will tell you it makes it a lot easier if you work within that which works for us.
yes. It says, why are these guys not on my TV every Sunday? And there was a lot of exclamation points and a lot of question marks. If you are tired of listening to the same crap and want to hear something with real thought, then this is it. No more NFL repeat pandering. These guys do not give a... And that is his comment.
I like how he said something that could be taken as negative, but the connotation is pretty clearly positive. Like, like he made me seem so much more punk rock than I am.
I like how you have grown to use that word as a verb. lately.
You know what? That's because I'm trying to be a little more punk rock with my life.
God.
What did you think was the possible outcome for that? You know what I have to say in response to this is that I have a half a cheesesteak sandwich in the fridge that I'm going to eat later, and I'm excited for that. And you're wondering how that relates to this comment. It's like I got no notes for this guy. He's input is appreciated. I will say he gave us 4 stars. I don't know if Stitcher does 4 or 5.
They do 5.
Okay, then I like how he gave us room to improve. Like, you know, you're definitely giving us a pat on the back and telling us to go out there and do more, but also going like, come on, guys, you know, you still suck a little bit. Like, we know.
It's going on. We had website comments and other app comments. I just kind of rolled them all up into one because all 3 of these people kind of said the same thing. And that's what I was doing when you accused me of not paying attention. I was logging into all the different things because I realized I'd forgotten we had some stuff that I hadn't put in here. So I apologize for not giving you my full attention, Kyle.
See, that's terrible because when I'm not paying attention, generally what I'm doing is looking up risque photos of ladies. Now, they're not all the way naked, but they're you know, they're little, their dad would not be happy. I'll say that. You'd still see it on TV. You know, not on HBO, but like, you know, regular broadcast and be fine. That's what I'm doing when I'm not paying attention. Looking at ladies. Unless my wife is listening, in which case I'm looking up something about Jesus or improving myself.
So these comments are from 3 separate people, and I will go ahead and read off all 3 for us. Are you guys restricted to just football? Because many of us would love an explicit podcast on opinions of just random topics. And next, these guys are funny, but tend to get off topic. Good show, but wish it was not just sports because these guys could be a great broad topic podcast. And last, it says, hey, what did you guys do in the Army? How did that drive you 2 together to do a football show rather than something else? All right, and those are all kind of related. Let's start with the first one here, Kyle. Are we restricted to just football? Well, this is a football podcast, so yes, we are restricted to just football. So that is the answer to that, as it is logical.
As far as the idea that people would love an explicit podcast of opinions on random topics,
I don't have that much time to edit. I can't edit that much stuff. Like, you guys don't realize how much time Kyle would absorb by talking about random topics and how all over the map it would be.
All right, and also here's the other thing. Our dynamic is kind of interesting in that, well, first off, like, you get a good sense of where I'm at, but Ron can secretly be more of a dick than he lets on. One thing that used to happen is we were roommates together in the Army. Well, we shared a common area and a door to that common area. We each had our own room. We weren't spooning or anything. I mean,
although that wasn't out of the question. I mean,
you know, sometimes it was Alaska. It's cold. Sometimes you have to do things. And believe it or not, I'll give you your off topic. When the Army was discussing homosexuality in the service, and this is like a decade ago, they bring some colonel out there from the Rangers. And for those of you who aren't in the military, Ranger is its own regiment. Like, it's not just, oh, you get a tab and there's Rangers, and it's like infantry only special forces. And he is a colonel of that. And his thing that he told the senators and the Congress as to why we can't allow the poofters in the service was sometimes you're out on mission and it's really cold and you have to strip down naked and get in the same sleeping bag as another guy and go nuts to butt. And there can't be any questions at that point. And everybody looked at him as though he was the biggest idiot in the world, which he was, because that is your example. First off, that's stupid. Secondly, we know a lot about you. And thirdly, we know you're gay. And that should tell you right there why we don't have an opinion podcast. But beyond that, okay, there was no spinning, rewinding. This is the editing Ron would have to do to trace back this tangle of Christmas lights to find the source. So Ron used to do a thing where he'd get me drunk. And you're all, I know, it didn't, no. You're all thinking I'm going a bad place with it, but it's not. Then he'd leave to go hang out with other people. But then he'd call me, hey, Kyle, what do you think about this? And I just start talking. he'd put me on speaker and him on mute, and everybody would just be laughing as I'd rant about God knows what and say the horrible things. And I'm drunk, and so it's worse. And so we can't keep doing that. Also,
I completely forgot about all that.
yeah, I quite kind of haven't. But it is funny, so I can't. I mean, if people laughed, they can't be mad. But more than anything, like we also kind of have, when you don't give it and you're opinionated, you're going to get to the point where you offend people pretty greatly. And I think most of our stuff is kind of harmless fun. If you're a little bit offended here and there, that's fine. It's, if it's so bad that you're going to quit listening, it's going to happen sooner or later. Or you don't understand jokes and sarcasm, and that's a little bit of what we do. But if it's nothing but that, I think it would be too much. I think jokes and sarcasm are a great framing device for sports, but jokes and sarcasm do not frame jokes and sarcasm very well.
Right. That is a very good way of putting it. And we just don't want... We wanted the show to be about something we really love, both of us simultaneously. We don't agree on a lot of topics, so let's... As funny as we are together and as good as we work this podcast together, we don't always see eye to eye on everything else. And most of the time that just turns into Keil arguing with me and then making fun of me and then calling me a baby bitch. And then I just end up getting pissed off. I don't talk. And Keil's laughing out the other end of the line repeatedly at the things that he's saying to me. And so there's really no...
the sad part is all of that is exactly 100% true. I'm not going to dispute the tiniest bit of it. But beyond that, generally when I have an opinion, it's based on some form of information. So if I'm wrong, and provably so, I can generally admit that and be like, oh, well, shit, I did not have that information. I guess you're correct, and thank you very much for making me less ignorant about this topic. I probably don't say it like that. I'm probably more like, whatever, queer. But you get, the information's in there. There's also enough respect between us to where Ron can totally disagree with me, and I know enough about him that I can completely respect his viewpoint and know he's not basing this off of nothing. If I'm just going to give you my opinion and you're just going to get my opinion and Ron's opinion, because he can be just as volatile, don't think he can't. He's laughing. He knows. Then yeah, there's going to be people who don't know us, and it's going to be bad. And also, our family listens to these things, so I really don't want to be talking about titty bars in Indiana with like Graham listening in, because then she's going to be like, really, full contact for only $10? Huh? That's a good price, man. Why aren't you living there right now? Like, I don't know, Gammy. I don't know. My grandma does not. I don't even. She does not listen to this, and I wouldn't call her Gammy.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. The big thing for us is we know what the topics are out there, and most of them will get us in trouble. That is why we stay away from them.
Like, if we were to, and I'm not going to, Ron, so you don't got to worry, but if we were to comment on, like, all the shootings of, the police and the thing like that, some people would be listening to our opinion and nodding and going, yeah, these guys are telling it like it is, and I respect that, and they're not afraid of what people think. Other people are like, I'm going to kill these people. I'm going to find them.
That's exactly it.
And also, it's not that far before you say something and your employer, or in this case, my employer, determines that I have now crossed over into liability and I am let go. And I have a family to support, and you guys are not clicking that Amazon link quick enough. So that's that. You want us to do a crazy, wacky show? Fine. Send us some emails and some comments. It's taken us like 4 weeks to get these, what is it? 2 emails, 1 Stitcher comment, and 3 general just comments on a show.
Yep.
So that's why we don't just do whatever. For the one guy who wanted to know what we did in the Army, I did satellite communications, and Ron did satellite communications and network specializations.
Yes, that is correct. We were both computer geeks, and as Keil said earlier, we came together because we both love football, and we were roommates, and we are very good friends. So that is how it goes. So That's going to wrap us up, folks, for the game previews and the emails. We have a show coming up that we're recording right after this, and Kyle is going to take the reins and try and run this. I've tried to let him do this once before, so we'll see how this goes. And I'm sure it's going to be a massive train wreck.
It's going to be bad. I can already, because we've already been doing this for long enough that my care for a good product level is not where it needs to be. And we've already got this show in the can, so I'm like, all right, whatever, we're done.
All right, well, tune in to our show that follows this one. It should be posted right about the same time. It is our news show about all the coaching news, all the big news. That way we can get all of it out at once, and it's a lot of show. So be prepared, and we apologize in advance.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to say it's probably in your best interest to not, click on it so we get the number, but then don't listen.
Thanks to Nick Wright at sound-right.com. Go there. He is our producer. He helps us out. He does tons of great audio things. Cindy, thank you. Thank you for listening to all this stuff that you listen to, and I know that it's painful. And
Cindy, you do also need to tell us, we are concerned with the legality of you accepting funds we have collected. We don't know if the NFL would say that's an attempted bribe or whatever, so you need to tell us if we can raise money for you. We raised $9,000 for charity. I'm pretty sure that there is no greater charity than a woman who just gave birth to an 11-pound baby for a lot of reasons. I'm pretty sure that our people...
A couple of form of plasties come to mind.
Ron keeps taking it in one direction. I'm just going, those are going to be some terrible diapers.
Thank you to our military. Obviously, you guys are one of the reasons we get to do this. We appreciate everybody who serves and protects this nation.
Especially those signal geeks, unsung heroes. Not really, if memory serves, there's a lot of sitting around.
Thank you to our listeners. We appreciate all of the support we get from you, the emails, the comments. Go in there, click that Amazon box. Go in there and do your searching from there. You'll just go to the Amazon store right from there. We need the support. We need the funds. We're trying to give back to you. We're not trying to do this for profit. We're trying to, whatever you give us, we're going to put back into our listeners. We're going to give T-shirts and hats out to people who actually comment and stuff. This is what we're trying to do. So thank you to our listeners.
We're getting right close to the point of having enough listeners to where doing a shirt would be a viable thing to do. And of course, for those of you who are longtime listeners, the number one option is the left frontal lobe. If you aren't aware, backlog it. Find out. It's all about Tom Brady. If that doesn't work, I think, given that the name of the show is Football is America, we need to run with that. How about Osama bin Laden murdered by football? Caption, I'm sorry that I care about justice.
That sounds pretty good.
If you would not rock that shirt all day long, then Canada's right there. You pansy, get out of my country, because we have rules and regulations and standards here. We murder our terrorists and we watch our football. Now, if we can combine the two, I'm pretty sure we can convert ourselves into pure energy as a species.
All right, well, that's it, Kyle. We're going to wrap up. Have a good night, Kyle.
Good night.